Hello and welcome. My name is Mary Collins. I am the curator of the Scott Family Collection at Alamance Community College. Historically, tobacco has been and remains to this day a significant factor in the economy of North Carolina. This presentation shows some of the interactions the Scott family have experienced with tobacco farming and tobacco regulation. The Scott family, like many other North Carolina families, has their own history with tobacco farming. At first, the family grew tobacco for their own use, but by the late 1850s, Henderson Scott, who is pictured here, opened a tobacco factory near the train depot in what would become Mebane, North Carolina, just a few miles from here. Henderson died in 1870, and the business was taken over by his son, James Edwin Scott. The factory got off to a good start, with 35 hands making smoking tobacco and plug tobacco. Unfortunately, the business and factory closed their doors in 1888 when James Edwin died at the age of 30. That was pretty much the end of the Scotts and tobacco until 1936, when Carr Scott, a dairy farmer and Henderson Scott's grandson, was elected Commissioner of Agriculture for North Carolina. Carr served in this position for 11 years. During this time, he traveled around the state, meeting with farmers and learning about their needs. Here is a photo of old-timey Mebane taken around 1939. The farmers are lining up to bring their tobacco to market. In 1949, Carr Scott became the governor of North Carolina. As governor, Carr put his knowledge of farming and the needs of farmers to good use. Carr Scott spent his 4 years in office helping rural communities by paving roads, bringing electricity to rural areas, and making education more available. He was acutely aware of the needs of all of the farmers of North Carolina and was particularly interested in the tobacco farmers as they were such a big sector of the economy. By 1958, when Carr Scott was a United States Senator from North Carolina, he met with representatives from the United States Department of Agriculture to discuss tobacco. Consumers were demanding filter-tip cigarettes, thinking they were safer, and the cigarette manufacturers were looking for tobacco that would produce higher levels of nicotine to overcome the effects of the filter. The USDA was happy to help. Like a lot of people, Governor Scott believed the tobacco companies when they said there was no proof that smoking caused cancer. During the 1940s and 50s, a number of studies conducted in Europe showed that tobacco did adversely affect health. The tobacco manufacturers responded by producing what they called reduced harm cigarettes. Advertising terms such as light, mild, and low tar were used to demonstrate their concern for the smoking public. Over the years, many people attempted to sue the tobacco companies for damages, but almost all were unsuccessful. Carr Scott's son Robert became governor of North Carolina in 1969. At that time, North Carolina was one of only 3 states that did not provide free kindergarten. Tobacco was still an important part of North Carolina's economy, and smoking was still very popular. Governor Bob decided to let tobacco pay for a statewide kindergarten program by placing a tax on cigarettes. Fast forward to 1996. At that time, Dr. Jeffrey Wigand, a biochemist, was the vice president of research and development at Brown and Williamson in Louisville, Kentucky. He thought he had been hired to develop reduced-harm cigarettes, only to discover that the company was actually adding chemicals to their cigarettes to make them more addictive, not less. Dr. Wigand went public with his discovery on a television show called 60 Minutes. In 1998, 52 state and territory attorneys general signed the Master Settlement Agreement with the 4 largest tobacco companies in the United States. The agreement settled a group of lawsuits that were filed by the states and territories to recover billions of dollars spent on smoking-related health care costs. The agreement eventually involved more than 50 tobacco companies. A few years after the MSA settlement was reached, the federal government decided to end the tobacco allotment system, a program developed during the Depression to regulate tobacco farming and to protect tobacco farmers from price fluctuations. Governor Bob Scott's daughter, Meg Scott Phipps, was elected Commissioner of Agriculture in 2000. One of her priorities while in office was to support passage of the Fair and Equitable Tobacco Reform Act of 2004, or FETRA for short. FETRA compensated tobacco farmers for the loss of their tobacco allotments and helped them to transition to other crops. Things have come a long way since 1951, when North Carolina produced almost 1 billion pounds of tobacco in a single season. As you can see from this chart, North Carolina produces only 1/4 of that amount in 2023. Amy Scott Gailey is a current member of the North Carolina State Assembly. As the sister, daughter, and granddaughter of physicians, Senator Gailey is committed to promoting health and education, especially for young people. Recent bills she has supported subject vapor products to existing restrictions on tobacco use in public school settings. The Golden Leaf Foundation, funded through the MSA, has benefited Alamance Community College by providing grants for new programs and for scholarships. In 2024, Golden Leaf funded a $1 million grant to ACC to create a veterinary medical technology program. This ends our program on the Scott family and tobacco. We hope you have enjoyed it.